Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. 2 days ago, in the early morning hours of Sunday, I received a phone call from Colonel Pat Callahan, the Superintendent of the New Jersey State Police. He told me that late on Saturday night, State Trooper Detective Richard Hershey, a 5-year veteran of the New Jersey State Police, had been shot. He had been shot while investigating a violent home invasion robbery that had taken place in a mobile home park in Pittsgrove. And he informed me that Detective Hershey was being rushed to surgery at Cooper Hospital in Camden. The colonel said that early reports were that the detective was going to be okay, but that the colonel was on his way down there to be with the family and to be with the detective. In the meantime, we began our investigation of the events leading to that shooting. The colonel and I spoke several hours later, and he informed me that the surgery was successful and that Detective Hershey was going to make a full recovery. A short while later, I spoke to the detective's family. I attempted to offer them some degree of comfort at what could only be described as an incredibly difficult time. But I assured them that we were going to do everything possible to bring to justice those individuals involved in the shooting of their son. Today, less than 48 hours removed from that phone call, we are delivering on that promise and announcing the arrest of 8 defendants. They include defendant Naj Zaire Naz Hutchings, who we allege was involved in the shooting of the detective and is being charged with the attempted murder of a law enforcement officer as well as weapons charges. We're also announcing the arrest of defendants Kareem Kai Warner Jr. and Colby Opperman, who we allege were present at the time of the shooting and are each being charged with unlawful possession of a weapon. The remaining 5 defendants are being charged for their involvement with the home invasion that took place earlier that evening and set off Saturday's tragic events. Colonel Callahan and Salem County Prosecutor John Lenahan, who are with me this morning, will provide additional details concerning Saturday's events and those charges. But here's what I'll say about what transpired this past Saturday in Pittsgrove. Early that evening, in the midst of a pandemic, brave state police troopers responded to a call for help from the mobile home park. A woman had been beaten and robbed by a group of other women. First responders took her to a nearby hospital. And a few hours later, after 10 p.m., again, in the midst of a pandemic, Detective Hershey returned to conduct interviews related to the earlier home invasion. He could have come back the next day or another day, but he was there then. He was there to solve this crime, to identify the victim's attackers, to seek justice, and to protect her. The scene that subsequently unfolded is deeply disturbing. While Detective Hershey was standing outside of his vehicle, we allege that a caravan of 5 vehicles approached him, and several occupants exited their cars. Detective Hershey identified himself as a law enforcement officer and ordered everyone back into their vehicles and to leave. Rather than comply, they ignored his commands and they confronted him. We allege that several of these individuals were armed with guns, including defendants Hutchings, Warner Jr., and Opperman. And we allege that as one of the vehicles drove off past the trooper, defendant Hutchings opened fire on him, striking him in the upper leg. Detective Hershey returned fire with his weapon and established a defensive position. All of the assailants then fled the scene. Thankfully, again, Detective Hershey did not suffer a life-threatening wound, but he easily could have. And here's what else we know about what transpired last Saturday evening in Pittsgrove. Detective Hershey's actions, by responding to the location of that earlier home invasion, Detective Hershey's diligence saved others from even greater harm that mob intended to inflict upon the residents of that mobile home. We're grateful that Detective Hershey's on the mend, and our thoughts and prayers remain with him and his family as he makes a full recovery. Let me close with this. Our law enforcement officers put their lives on the line each and every day to protect us. They do it when they respond to emergencies in ordinary times. And they do it especially when they investigate violent crimes during the midst of an unprecedented pandemic, as Detective Hershey was doing. You see, the oaths that they took to protect and to serve didn't give them the option to socially distance or to work from home. That oath requires them to be on the front lines on all days. They have our backs, just as Detective Hershey showed in this case, and we must have their backs as well. And we do. We have zero tolerance for a hostile mob that threatens a law enforcement officer performing his duties. We have zero tolerance for those that attack a law enforcement officer. And we have zero tolerance for a cowardly gunman that targets a detective in a drive-by shooting in the middle of the night in the midst of a pandemic. That is the clear message that we're sending this morning. By swiftly investigating this shooting, the related home invasion, and charging a number of those responsible. And I say a number because this investigation is very much ongoing. I want to commend the New Jersey State Police, the Office of Public Integrity and Accountability, for their involvement in the investigation of the shooting. And I likewise want to commend Prosecutor John Lenahan and the men and women of the Salem County Prosecutor's Office for their investigation of the home invasion and their partnership in the overall investigation of this case. But most importantly, I want to thank and commend Detective Hershey for his courage in responding to that scene on Saturday night to try to protect and aid a victim of crime. And I wish him a speedy and a full recovery. I want to turn this over to Colonel Callahan for additional details concerning Saturday's events, and then Prosecutor Lenahan will offer details on the charges related to the home invasion. Colonel?
Thank you, General, and thank you, Prosecutor Lenahan, for being here this morning. The collaboration and partnership, as we've discussed on many occasions, is phenomenal, and the relentless efforts in this investigation are just certainly are a tremendous source of pride for all of us, so thank you. With regards to Detective Hershey's actions that night, he was, as the General said, responding to do follow-up interviews from that earlier home invasion. And I just wonder if he wasn't there doing those interviews, what would have transpired? And that's a question that we may never know. But in my gut and from my training and experience, I have a feeling that he probably stopped a much worse violent crime than the earlier home invasion. With regards to the three subjects charged in relation to the shooting of Detective Rick Hershey, they are, their names are as follows, and the charges are as follows. Nazir Naz Hutchings, 21 years old, of Bridgeton, New Jersey. His charges are as follows. Attempted murder, first degree. Unlawful possession of a weapon, second degree. Possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose, second degree. And aggravated assault on a police officer, third degree. The second subject charged, Kareem Kai Warner Jr., 19 years of age, of Bridgeton, New Jersey, charged with unlawful possession of a weapon, second degree. And Colby Opperman, 18 years of age, of Bridgeton, New Jersey, unlawful possession of a weapon, second degree. The defendants after being arrested, were subsequently lodged in the Salem County Jail where they are awaiting a detention hearing. The lead investigators on this investigation was our major crime unit of the New Jersey State Police, assisted by the Office of Public Integrity and Accountability. I also would like to thank our Criminal Investigation Office staff and troopers down in Troop A, as well as the Crime Scene Investigation Unit and our Cold Case Unit of the State Police. The arrests were ultimately made by our State Police Fugitive and our teams units, and assistance was provided by the U.S. Marshal Service under the leadership of former retired colonel from the State Police, U.S. Marshal Juan Matos Jr., and we were also assisted by the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives under the leadership of Special Agent in Charge Charlie Patterson. And to the General's earlier point, it is no call that anyone wants to get in the middle of the night, but to be there under bizarre circumstances, because usually we'd have a whole hospital full of people, but we're not permitted to be in Cooper, so we set up in Camden County's headquarters or Metro Police Department And when Troop Detective Hershey got out of surgery, to be able to FaceTime him with his family there was something that I will not soon forget. And we will have certainly him and his family in our prayers as he moves forward through his recovery. I've talked to him every day since and will continue to do so. He knows that he is surrounded by a phenomenal group of men and women, not only in the state police, but around the country that are pulling for him and his recovery. With that, I will turn it over to Prosecutor John Lenahan of the Salem County Prosecutor's Office. Prosecutor?
Thank you, Colonel. As the General said, approximately 6 p.m. on Saturday night, April 25th, 5 individuals arrived at 8 Harding Drive. They committed a home invasion and they attacked the victim in her home. The victim experienced a broken rib, lacerated lung, lacerations to other parts of her body. A passerby saw the aftermath of the home invasion and contacted 911. Basic life support ambulance was dispatched. The victim was picked up and transported to the Inspira Hospital in Elmer. At the same time, troopers from the Bridgeton State Police Barracks responded to the scene. Detectives from the Bridgeton State Police Barracks went to the hospital and questioned the victim. Their investigation commenced. Within a period of 24 hours, they were able to arrest 5 individuals for this home invasion, robbery, aggravated assault, and burglary. The 5 individuals are Emiri Lazo, age 23, Yomari Lazo, age 43, Maria Betancourt, age 39, Jasmine Valentine, age 32, and Myra Roblero, age 52. All 5 of those individuals were charged with first-degree robbery, conspiracy to commit robbery, second-degree burglary, conspiracy to commit burglary, second-degree aggravated assault, conspiracy to commit assault. They were arrested Sunday, lodged in the Salem County Correctional Facility, and they're pending a detention hearing that's presently scheduled for Thursday. Now, the officer involved in the subsequent incident who was shot, he is not a Salem County resident. However, he is a key component of Salem County law enforcement. He's presently assigned to the Bridgeton State Police Barracks where he's a detective. His previous assignment was in Salem County at the Woodstown State Police Barracks. So he is a key player in Salem County law enforcement. Personally, I'm proud of the small role that the Salem County Prosecutor's Office played in this incident and the contributions that we were able to make. But I'm especially proud of the New Jersey State Police, the Major Crimes Unit, Crime Scene Unit, Teams Unit, Fugitive Unit. This was an all-hands-on-deck, 72-hour straight investigation, which resulted in 8 arrests shortly after the incident occurred. And finally, I'd like to say, and I've said to Colonel Callahan in the past, and I've said to Colonel Fuentes previously, that Salem County relies heavily on the New Jersey State Police. There's 2 state police barracks that police Salem County. We have one in Woodstown and one in Bridgeton. The state troopers are primary law enforcement officers for half of the county of Salem County, and the Salem County law enforcement community and the Salem County residents are most appreciative of the efforts of the professionalism and the expertise that the New Jersey State Police bring to our county. So thank you.
Thank you, Prosecutor. Before we go to your questions, as has been mentioned by the Colonel and the Prosecutor, this was an all-hands-on-deck effort for over 72 hours straight. A number of law enforcement agencies collaborated and did what they do best, which is investigate cases and bring criminals to justice. I want to recognize a number of the individuals responsible, and I can't hit everybody, but I think it's important given the number of individuals and groups and agencies responsible to acknowledge them. There were numerous participants from the New Jersey State Police under the leadership of Colonel Callahan. I'd like to recognize Colonel Fritz Frage, who's here, the Investigations Branch Commander, Special Investigations Section under Major James McGowan, Major Crimes South Unit under Lieutenant Tom Wizersak, with Detective Mario Nocito, the lead detective here, Troop A Criminal Investigation Office and Troop A Field Operations under the leadership of Troop A Commander Major Mac Jackson, Crime Scene Investigation Unit under Lieutenant William Deneen, the Fugitive Unit under Lieutenant John Hayes, Troop A and C Teams Units, the State Police Cold Case Unit, the RCFL, the K-9 Unit, the Electronic Surveillance Unit, the Ballistics Unit, and the Regional Operation Intelligence Center where we sit this morning. From the Office of Public Integrity and Accountability, I want to recognize Director Tom Eicher for his leadership, Carolyn Murray, the Director of the Conviction Review and Cold Case Units, for her leadership in this investigation, Deputy Attorney General Rachel Weeks, who was assigned to prosecute the defendants in the trooper shooting, Detective Jeffrey Lorman, who was the lead detective for OPIA on the investigation of the shooting, the Division of Criminal Justice, Chief of Detectives Weldon Powell, Lieutenant Lou Renshaw, Lieutenant Ann Hayes, Detective Sergeant Pepe Pichette, and Detective Christian Harden. And of course, I want to thank again the prosecutors and detectives of the Salem County Prosecutor's Office who worked on the home invasion and on the shooting investigation under the leadership of Prosecutor Lenahan. As the Colonel also mentioned, a number of federal partners assisted us. The U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives under the leadership of Special Agent in Charge Charlie J. Patterson, and of course the United States Marshal Service, New York, New Jersey Regional Fugitive Task Force under the leadership of U.S. Marshal Juan Matos, Jr.